welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
Sorry we weren't around last week, but it was a combination of, well, everything really. You ever had one of them weeks when nothing works, which in my case included my own chest?
You feeling better now?
Yeah, I'm feeling loads better. It was just it was a torn tendon that I've got that keeps flaring up from time to time when I pick up anything too heavy.
Oh.
And let's face it, I've been carrying this show for long enough.
Way!
So we are back with an interesting couple of weeks in Formula One. Every time we have a week off, everything goes mad.
Exploded.
Well, silly, I think we can actually say.
Silly. I tell you what, though, it's slightly good that we didn't do a podcast last week, because I'd have been quite upset to mention that I think we had a rubbish Belgium.
There's been
not classic.
There's been better Belgiums.
I'm already struggling to tell you too much about it.
It was just a bit of a DRS train, wasn't it? Nobody could really do anything, and it got me thinking. If obviously we'll have to wait till next year to see what happens, but I wonder if with these new cars being so different, if we're going to see like shake-ups in what was a bad and a good race. I mean, last year Zandvoort, the banking was cool, but it was a rubbish race. This year at Zandvoort, fucking great.
See, I remember last year's Zandvoort being okay. Just thinking, yeah, all right, needed a Dutch Grand Prix, but okay, I get it.
Yeah, I think it was more the case. Well, it had the same. It had the problem last year that Belgium had this year, where people just didn't seem to be able to get around each other.
I mean, Zandvoort's a pretty narrow track to begin with. And looking at all the old footage that's been coming out, because obviously they're having to show things from the 70s and early 80s, it's wider than it used to be.
Yeah,
But so are F1 cars.
But that's the problem. With Belgium this year, I don't know. I mean, the whole new sort of Eau Rouge Radion area, which now they've painted the Belgian flag on the outside, it's Eau Rouge, amber and black. Still never found out if they were the high friction surfaces that they put, like they've got in France, just to see if they can slow the cars down any if somebody's running wildly wide around there.
Maybe it would make sense.
It's got to be a punishment to run wide, hasn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah. Obviously, we all thought before Belgium it was going to be the last Belgian Grand Prix, but now that apparently is coming. Well, no, it's not apparently. It is coming back next year, but it's Kyle Army that's not going to make it onto the calendar.
Yeah, so it's a 1 year deal for Spa, pending further talks. So,
and some of these talks are rumoured to be alternating with Paul Ricard.
Mm-hmm.
Please, no,
no to that.
Just have Belgium. Just have Belgium.
I don't understand the Paul Ricard thing. Like, there's so many circuits now that want to get into Formula One. I mean, I suppose maybe there's a connection there with still having Renault in with Alpine and a couple of French drivers, but you just got to kind of think to yourself, like, the teams hate going there, the fans hate it. But they must know that.
And there are other French circuits that are better.
Yeah. But there's other people that want to give Formula One loads of money. It's not like they're running out of places to go for races.
No. But the thing with France is it is the birthplace of Grand Prix racing. So
that's fair.
That's why we have the French Grand Prix and not the French Big Prize.
But we went for a few years without a French Grand Prix, didn't we?
About a decade, I think, pretty much, give or take.
Yeah, about 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing
Given
wrong.
Paul Ricard, I'd be happy to do that again.
I mean, I didn't think there was anything wrong with Manicourt.
No, absolutely not.
I think with the way that track is, it'd probably suit the current cars better than what is essentially a big test track.
Yeah,
this is exactly what it is. Yeah.
Or if they're going to use it, use the bloody sprinklers.
Yeah. Sorry, Bernie, you're right.
That's the only one he's getting from us. Right, couple of interesting newsy bits obviously happened while we've had the week off, mainly involving Oscar Piastri and the knock-on effect of everything that Alonso and Vettel have done between them. So the Contract Recognition Board have finally got around to meeting and releasing the information, which they met last Monday, so we thought there was going to be Tuesday news, when there wasn't even a Monday show. And of course, there wasn't Tuesday news because we didn't record on Monday night. So Oscar Piastri's contract, as it turns out, he never had a contract for next year with Alpine. And he only had an agreement to be a reserve driver for them and split reserve driver duties with McLaren this year. And after reading a couple of articles from actual serious F1 journalists, like I think Dieter Renken was one of them, and he's good because he writes for Auto Motor und Sport, and we trust them.
Yeah, we do.
They only sent a one year agreement through for this season with full contract to follow, and it never followed. So apparently, this agreement was going to say that he was going to be in Williams for a year or two. So that's Latifi out. And now it explains the Albon trolling.
Yeah. What, sorry?
Yeah.
Well, Albon released a statement after Williams said he'd re-signed for them. And it was a word-for-word copy of what Piastri had said, apart from, I approve of this, and I agree with this, and I will be driving.
So he did. I'd forgotten about that, timing-wise.
Yeah. To be fair, though, it might not be connected that because every single professional motor racer seemed to do the same thing at the same time.
Yeah,
there was a lot of those tweets going around.
Yeah, but I think he had more inside knowledge of who his teammate was going to be next year or not.
Yeah.
So Piastri is now going to McLaren. Ricciardo appears to be seatless at the moment, and let the silly season commence because everybody and the grandma in the Red Bull organisation has said, yes, we're trying to get Colton Herta next year.
Oh, well, I mean, they've said they're getting Colton Herta or they're not releasing Gasly, which must feel really good if you're Liam Lawson.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Did anyone watch the Ted's Notebook?
A little bit. I sort of dipped in and out.
When they were talking about this in Ted's Notebook, what's his name? Fuck me, Red Bull guy, the Bond villain.
Helmut Marko.
Helmut Marko, yeah. He
that was in stereo plus one.
We know who you mean. The eye guy.
He turned around and said, we're not going to release Gasly unless we can get Herta. Because we're only going to replace Gasly if there's somebody fresh and exciting we can put in the car.
No, he didn't say somebody fresh and exciting. He said something fresh and exciting.
Oh, well,
he doesn't
okay.
say
because his drivers are a commodity. Yeah. They're not people. They're things that he owns. Yes, that's not shocking.
That's fucking awesome.
Although when it comes to having somebody running your driver program, that's the one I'd get. Mm-hmm. See what I did there?
Yes,
I did.
So, if Colton Herta is allowed his super license, which Stefano Domenicali is saying no at the moment, but if it does happen, then Gasly's on his way to Alpine.
It would appear so.
Which would be the best possible move for him, because at the moment, every time he gets into the car, he's got that sticker on his wheel saying, "You'll never leave."
Yeah, I think it'd be a good move for him.
And then that just leaves the issue of, is Ricciardo finished?
Yes.
So he's being linked to the Mercedes reserve drive.
Yes.
According to the internet.
Which apparently will be a 1 or 2 year deal, and then he will be Lewis Hamilton's replacement. Any thoughts?
I think
that's what he thinks.
Yeah. I mean, I hazard a guess. I think if anybody's going to be like Lewis Hamilton's replacement, as in like replacement, it's going to be George Russell within the team. And I think Nick de Vries is good enough that if he can get his frame into that Williams seat, which looks pretty good, I would think if Lewis decided to rate, 2 years maybe, if that's where Lewis sees himself.
That's what they're saying at the moment. His current contract runs out at the end of 23, and they think he'll sign a 1 year deal to the end of 24, and then probably retire at the moment. So Does Ricciardo want to hang around for 2 years at Mercedes and prove that he's some kind of beast in the few runs that he'll get in that car? Maybe he'll be really good in the sim. Who knows? Or if you're McLaren, if you're Mercedes, you to me you don't look at you don't look at your reserve driver necessarily unless it's a young and up and coming driver. And unfortunately for Daniel Ricciardo, he's not a young and up and coming driver anymore. No. He's in his 30s, and I think Mercedes would probably look elsewhere for an understudy to George Russell. I mean, it's not saying it's impossible; it's certainly possible. I'm just saying I don't think it's probable.
It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a racy move for me. It's if you look at it's like the reverse of what McLaren are doing in replacing him. Like McLaren have got like a young fucking team for next year now. I know Lando's been in Formula One for a few years, but he's still a young driver, and then you've got like a young rookie next to him as well.
Interesting point from Virtual Statman. This will be the first time in McLaren's history where they've had two drivers that have only driven in Formula One for McLaren.
That's interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. See, I went way back to like I didn't go researching trying to prove him wrong. But I thought, hang on a second.
It's not worth trying.
No. I was like, there must have been a point in the 60s when Bruce McLaren was driving his own car, and then I thought, no, because Bruce McLaren drove for other teams.
Yeah. So... yeah. So, it's a shame, and I really wish that Daniel could do something else and to go somewhere or do something, but maybe the only thing that a lifeline he's got left is if Herta can't get a super license points, maybe that will force the hand of Alpine to give him like a year's deal until they can sort out what's going on.
I think that would probably be the only thing, because there isn't really a lot of other drivers on the fringes. I mean, we've joked about Hulkenberg before. There's Nick de Vries. Then again, there is a complete and utter wildcard thrown in there, because Felipe Drugovich is in danger of winning F2, and he's not even tied to
he's not in danger of winning F2. No one is catching him in F2.
He's going to win F2, and he's not even tied to an F1 team.
This is absolutely why they need to lift the this whole thing that you can't race for 2 years in F2, isn't it?
Or race once you've won.
Yeah, it's such a silly rule. Nick de Vries is a perfect example of it, isn't he? He won the F2 championship, didn't he? And then was thrown into limbo.
He won it. Latifi came runner-up. Latifi got the F1 seat.
Yeah.
Madness.
Vries went on to become the first Dutch motorsport world champion.
He did. Yeah. That is true. But I'm sure he'd have probably rather had a go in F1.
Yeah, of course. Well, I don't know. I think he would like to have a go now, but he's done the World Championship thing. Now let him prove what he can do in F1. I don't know that he's going to... I think I have a funny feeling Williams are going to stick with what they've got.
I just don't think they will, because they don't need all the Latifi money anymore.
No.
Doralton have brought some serious funding in there. And
presumably Drugovich has got to F2 without a team behind him. He must have some money.
Oh, he's got money. I mean, his dad owns a massive car spares business in Brazil.
Oh, I mean, that's useful as well.
Yeah, but Mercedes can turn to Williams and say, "Here's free engines."
That is a point. Drugovich and Co could turn around to Williams and say, "Here's some free repairs." Then again, they'd come back with, "Why is he going to crash a lot?"
Yeah,
we've already got one that does that.
I think it will either be De Vries or Logan Sargent that gets the Williams seat. But I'm edging towards...
Don't think Sargent.
Yeah, Sargent's gone off the boil a little bit. I think he needs another year.
I'm edging towards De Vries anyway, just because of the Mercedes hookup.
He only needed 7 corners on Sunday.
Yeah, he crashed
twice.
Tell
you what, that'd be... Because, I obviously, as if I've got any sort of extra knowledge about things, but... I rate De Vries really highly, for him to win F2, to go through the disappointment of not getting to Formula 1 and then to win Formula E, there's clearly something to him. It's not just he deserves his shot.
And he looks about 15 years younger than he actually is.
He looks like a Funko Pop. We've been through this.
Somebody described him sitting in the Mercedes garage on Sunday as, "Is it bring your son to work day?"
Yeah, it caused quite the stir. The Funko Pop thing. I had a reasonable amount of support on that front.
I think it's fair. I think it is fair.
Very wide head. Then there might be another seat coming free at Haas, because there's more and more stories about Mick Schumacher trying to save his career, and of course he's now leaving the Ferrari program at the end of the year.
Yes. Apparently so.
And Giovinazzi is getting a couple of FP1s.
I don't think
Giovinazzi is in contention for a seat.
No.
Well, that's the
Daniel
thing.
Ricciardo, Daniel, don't forget he was the first person contacted, but as he was told in Hungary that he was going to be out of McLaren, and obviously it must have passed through the paddock grapevine, and Gunther Steiner was the first person that went to him, and he's offered him a job. So, but this was part of the thing where Ricciardo was saying that given where he's been in the sport, he doesn't. If he stays in the sport, he wants to be in something competitive. I'm not convinced that he has the luxury of that type of choice.
I mean, it's a Villeneuve-esque career trajectory, isn't it?
I think this is the thing, though. If you go to Haas and you do a good job for a year, there's a chance if someone disappears higher up the grid, you get that call. If you go and sit on your arse at Mercedes for 2 years, no one is going to come. If like a Ferrari seat opens or something, no one's coming for the Mercedes reserved driver. They might go for someone who's doing a very good job in Haas.
Yeah. Will Buxton and Lawrence Barretto on the F1 channel were basically saying that they thought Ricciardo was out of the frame for the Haas seat, and that the drivers that were in the pecking order way ahead of Ricciardo included Nico Hülkenberg.
Wow!
Only recently been passed by Nicholas Latifi in the Drivers' Championship this year.
Yes.
Oh, come on. We've got to support everyone's favourite Canadian barrier botherer.
Yeah.
It's Stroll.
It's just crazy, though, isn't it? I know what you're saying there, like Villeneuve-esque, like career trajectory, and you're right. I get it, but he's Villeneuve had an excuse. Every car since the one he won the world championship in was fucking bobbins, So he had an excuse, and he kept given the fact his best mate was running BAR, and he was collecting fucking fat stacks for those seasons he was doing, but he never really got the chance to show more, because I often point that out to people. It would have been interesting if he'd have had a better car for more seasons, because he essentially mirrored Lewis Hamilton's first 2 years in Formula One.
In Ferrari, you've been predicting the future again.
Narrowly missing out on a world championship in his debut season, and then winning it in the second season. I think Villeneuve, because he's outspoken, which I love him being outspoken. I think it's fucking great. I think people forget sometimes now, because he's almost like a bit of a caricature of himself, how much of a seriously good racing driver he was.
We'll get to find out a week on Wednesday.
Was.
He's doing some laps in last year's Alpine round Monza the Wednesday after the Grand Prix. Part of the celebrations for his 25th anniversary of winning his championship. And as was pointed out before we started recording, hang on, he didn't win the world title in a Renault or a Benetton or a Enstone.
I'm just going to point out that he made his last comeback in Formula One with Renault.
With Alonso as a teammate.
Now,
I mean, they've got a seat for it, but he's aiming for NASCAR now, he says. He's doing Euro NASCAR.
Yeah.
Or the NASCAR Euro Wheeling Series, to give it its full title. Which I've seen precisely half a race of, and there was a crash.
Did Villeneuve finish his F1 career with Renault? I thought he was with BMW. Got replaced by Kubica.
No, his last comeback was in a Renault for about 4 races. Possibly at the end of
this entirely.
Possibly at the end of a season, because you never knew.
Sort of disappear and came back.
Yeah, you never knew where it was going to be from 1 minute to the next.
Yeah, it didn't go well. It wasn't covered in glory. It's not like a Alonso-esque return here.
Actually, the other thing about Villeneuve is, he leaves the team and they get good.
Now, see, that's an Alonso thing.
That's very Alonso.
Because he left Renault at the end of 2004. And what happened with Renault in 2005?
It's actually a battle of the bad luck here, isn't it? Because you've got Alonso, which is leaving Alpine to go to. So logic would dictate that means Alpine's in the championship hunt next year. But Vettel would leave in Aston Martin would dictate Aston Martin should be in the championship hunt as well, but it can't be because Alonso's going there and he only makes bad decisions.
He did 2 seasons at Sauber and then Sauber BMW after Renault.
1.5 seasons.
I can't remember any of that.
I remember him getting replaced by Kubica. That's about all of that I remember.
Yeah.
I have no more to say on that other than that exists.
No, it was definitely a thing. Why did he quit, or did he get fired?
I think it was that Kubica was bringing a bit more to the party.
Yeah,
like speed, talent, and
at that time 2 functional arms.
Oh yeah, they sacked him. Although. Villeneuve, according to Wikipedia, did try to come back to Formula One twice. Once in 2010 with Stefan Grand Prix.
Oh God!
The ones that were using the old Arrows cars that F1 said, no, you're not having an entry, and they said we're turning up anyway, and then didn't get.
That's not quite how it works, is it?
I appreciate the hustle.
I'm just gonna quietly sneak these F1 cars onto the grid. No one will notice.
And then with his team in partnership with Durango Racing.
Who?
I don't know, but they folded in 2006.
I've heard that name before, Durango Racing.
They were in GP2 for a few years.
Oh, maybe it's in that. Definitely sounds like wacky races team, doesn't it?
I mean, they've had such quality drivers as Ferdinando Monfardini.
I thought you were going to say like Ferdinando Hamonzo. Then it's just like they get unlicensed fictional drivers from video games.
Clivio Piccioni. And Davide Valsecchi. I'm waiting for a Valsecchi comment.
No. Riot and Tenor.
John Newhouse. That's still the all-time best. Anything else newsy while we're still in date before something happens tomorrow?
Don't think so.
Of anything.
Right. Dutch Grand Prix.
Sorry. Quickly, we didn't because we didn't speak last week. Audi Formula One team.
Oh yes.
And Porsche and Red Bull collapsing.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? Something's going on there. I wonder if that could if Porsche are like committed to an entry into Formula One. I wonder if you could see them go with like a Williams or something like that. If it falls through with Red Bull.
I think if it falls through with Red Bull, they'll buy Aston Martin.
Maybe. maybe.
Because I think
they've got till the 15th. Is it 15th of September or 15th of October to put their paperwork in and have it ratified by the FIA. Otherwise, the entry is going to be 2027.
Wow.
I reckon they'll put it in with a proviso that they can. It gives them another 3 years to effectively prepare. But yeah. I think they'll end up buying Aston Martin because the rumor is that Stroll is desperate to sell.
They've had a bad shares day, I think. Aston Martin. I read some shit about this earlier.
The only issue you've got, and this is why I think it will go ahead, because it's an absolute no-brainer for Porsche, because it's almost like the value for money that Alfa Romeo have got from Sauber, because obviously Porsche will be putting a little bit more in than what Alfa's put into Sauber. But the engine infrastructure is already there. You know, Red Bull Powertrains is already a thing that's already building engines, or along with Honda, which are obviously going to fade away. But
no, they're not. They'll come back. They do everything.
No, I was just going to say they've already said they would. Like there's been a Honda exec saying, "Yeah, we want back in Formula One now." Now with the engine regs being done, and the talk was what I was listening to, that they will buy Toro Rosso if they decide to come back in.
That would probably make sense, because it offloads Red Bull. They then only have to produce half the amount of engines that they were going to have to do before, because they were going to be supplying Toro Rosso. And Honda keeps coming back to Formula One, like Fernando Alonso keeps coming back to Enstone.
Yeah,
I still don't think this is the last time he's left.
No, it's proper broke back. He can't quit then.
But yeah, Audi, not actually signed up with a team yet, but current thinking is it's going to be what is currently Alfa Romeo, but it's the Sauber organisation, and they're on the verge of purchasing 75% of the entire team. And with Alfa Romeo announcing that their deal with Sauber finishes at the end of next season, I think they'll just go straight from being Alfa Romeo to being Audi F1.
I don't think they'll go from. I think they'll go back to Sauber first.
They might have to.
Yeah.
Because the agreement runs out, doesn't it, in 2023?
Yeah.
So if 24 and 25, they've currently got no title sponsor, so they might have to run as Sauber.
And regardless of how misguided this might be, Audi, they want to have their first season fighting for championships. You could see the way they were talking and how we want to be extremely competitive when we come into Formula One. Well, extremely competitive is Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. So what you're saying is you want to win races from your first season.
Yeah, but that's what BAR said.
It's what Honda said. No, BAR said they were going to win their first Grand Prix. They put it all on the line.
They were going to get pole and win their first Grand Prix without a Mechachrome engine.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the Mechachrome powered BARs didn't finish their first Grand Prix that they started at the back of the grid.
No, and do you know what? I still, but slight digress here, but because we're back on BAR, I still think that Formula One made a mistake with them by not allowing them to run separate liveries. I think now it would be fucking great to have cars like that were more tailored style-wise to each driver.
So
I agree and disagree at the same time. I think you do need to allow a little bit more individual styling, but at the same time, you've got to be able to tell anybody who's starting to watch the sport for the first time needs to be able to tell that the two cars are teammates, for example.
But
yeah, like in IndyCar, I think
revenue, aren't you?
Yeah, IndyCar I think takes it too far in that you haven't got a fucking clue who's a teammate there.
Yeah,
because they're all two thing. But yeah, I think you could definitely allow a bit more creativity.
I think,
but then you look at F2 and about 90% of the grid is a Red Bull.
That's also true.
Yeah, I think for me it would be cool if you could brand them differently. So, for instance, obviously Monster's involvement with Mercedes is purely around Hamilton. So you could see Monster Monster's investment in that team, right? Well, the Lewis Hamilton Mercedes is the Lewis Hamilton's monster Mercedes car, and it's absolutely fucking monstered off the wazoo. You know, it's
there's a point.
If
they were in with the whole team, what flavour monster would Bottas's have been?
Well, he has his own coffee roast, doesn't he? So maybe he would have had one of those espresso-y ones.
Oh, the espresso monster.
Yeah.
The one that said, "Don't shake," and I didn't read that until after I'd shook it and opened it.
It did not go well.
Porridge.
Ooh, porridge monster. I just can't. I don't have Bottas down as an energy drink person.
That's a hell of an insult. What a porridge monster.
Yeah, porridge. Yeah, a subtle blend of porridge with notes of espresso.
We're talking oats and coffee beans, basically.
I don't have George Russell down as a monster drinker either.
No.
I don't think they sponsor Mercedes anymore, do they?
Lewis Hamilton Monster is still on sale.
I feel like the logo is still on the car.
Champion on it.
I'm sure Hamilton's still got Monster on his helmet.
I feel like I've seen the logo, but it might just be that I've not been paying attention, which is entirely reasonable.
Yeah. Sorry if I sound a little distracted. I'm trying to get a cat off a shelf.
She's a monster.
Make way for the elf, motherfucker. Christmas too.
She's just knocked a bottle over.
The bottle hasn't fallen, it's just dangling.
The joys of podcasts. How long did it take her to make an appearance tonight?
I cannot actually see a monster logo on the Mercedes.
No, I don't think there is.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
31 minutes in for the first podcast appearance, which is usually round about the same time for the first almighty Ferrari fuck-up in a race. Shall we talk about the Dutch Grand Prix? Because that was a thing that happened, and a strategist's nightmare.
Might I suggest that this week's podcast's name is the same name as the meme I put out the other week, which was "Marked Safe from Ferrari Strategy."
I think it might have to be. It was either going to be something along those lines, or I wouldn't go see a Ferrari Ramones tribute band. 1, 2, 3. What? So, start from the back, and Alfa Romeo and Bottas with a DNF, which unleashed hell. Parked up on the pit lane. Well, by the pit lane.
He couldn't do anything about it, though, could he? His car basically shut off in front of him.
Yeah, it just died coming down the main straight. And that was the one that brought out the actual safety car, which then led everyone through the pit lane, which then led to all kinds of chaos, and in Lewis's case, swearing. Joe was 16th. Didn't really see a great deal of either of them, though, apart from Bottas when he retired, and Bottas still staying one lap down on the timing screens all the way to the end.
I think that just means they haven't switched him off.
And I just want to say about the new F1 timing app on the website. What is the point of offering live timing if it's a freaking lap behind?
Lap and a half.
Yes, that is not live. That is on a delay.
No, that's delayed timing.
Yeah, this is what happened a while ago. You know, new live timing. Well, it was live when it happened. It's just you're not going to get to see it for a while. No, because after Sainz got that penalty, I was trying to work out where he was going to finish, and with the gap at the time, with two laps to go, which was what was showing on the screen, he was going to be in 10th, and it was still showing that he had that gap when the race finished on TV.
Yeah, he finished 8th, didn't he? In the end.
In the end.
Yeah.
But rant over. Yeah, F1 sort the bloody thing out. You know, a lot of people use that. You know, for lols as well as serious stuff, mainly lols. And this new digital age F1, they haven't got that one right.
No. When you're watching George Russell set purple sector after purple sector, and then a fastest lap, and then it's Lewis Hamilton purple sector, fastest lap. And then Max Verstappen, purple sector, fastest lap. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Lance Stroll, fastest sector 1. Like, hang on a second. Like, these are the things that you would normally have picked up on the timing screen before you saw it on the TV.
Yeah.
But you can't when it's so slow.
Yeah, and we'd finished talking about what we'd seen by the time it was actually appearing on the computer. Moving on, Williams, Albon in 12th and Latifi 18th, last classified finisher again. I thought Albon was going to get points, a couple of points during the race.
Yeah, he had a good run, didn't he? Early on, he went long on his tyres and sort of got himself up to about 6th at one point.
Yeah, he was running quite high.
But I think just didn't quite. I think with the VSC and the safety car just didn't quite suit when he stopped. Which was a shame.
But it proves that he can get something out of the Williams, and if they keep developing the car, because I don't think the changes are going to be massive for next year. So I think next year's cars are going to be a development of this year's rather than a 100% all new concept. Then I think we'll be seeing a few top 10s out of him this season, next season.
We've seen a couple this year.
I was going to say we have seen a couple already this year, but I think it'll be a bit more frequent. Obviously, Williams aren't what they used to be, and we've said that enough for the last God knows how many years. And Latifi is definitely making up the numbers.
Yeah, could not tell you anything about his race.
He didn't go into a wall. When his highlights are what he didn't do rather than what he did do.
Yeah.
I think that, there's a lot of potential for participation awards here. Right, Haas came in 15th with a pretty good save.
Right at the start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, how he didn't take that car into the wall after he ran wide, I have no idea. Mick Schumacher 13th, and both had shitty pit stops.
Mick Schumacher was running okay as well, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah, and then they had wheel gun problems in a pit stop and ruined his chance for points. I think Haas looked like wankers.
Yeah, I think they both stopped sort of, if not on consecutive laps, fairly close together, and they both had long pit stops, so something obviously was amiss. I don't know whether someone ran over their pit gun as well, but yeah, not all was well at the Haas garage.
It's so weird, isn't it, where teams are this year? There's only certain teams which are sort of consistently in the same place where, Haas looked really good at the start of the year, for instance. And they just seem, same with Toro Rosso's looked good at various points. But that sort of mid-grid pack, you can be sort of like leading the best of the rest or second to last now. If weekend to weekend.
Yeah, and I think this was definitely one of Haas's slower ones, but I think a lot of it was self-inflicted.
Same with Bottas at the start of the year. Like, he was at 5th all the time, and now isn't getting out of Q1.
Yeah, I mean, have Sauber stopped developing that car?
Quite likely, I would think so.
Then again, Sauber are constantly in a state of flux with what they're going to be doing about next year's car. It's just, for once, it's good for them that they still know they've got at least another year.
Well, they've got at least another year of being Alfa Romeo, and then they know that there's going to be money in that team for probably a good getting on for 10 years from now, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Audi deal does come through, it's not going to be a short-term thing, is it? Because they're going to be they're going to be in it for the long haul. Obviously, Sauber will end up having first option on buying the team back, just like happened with BMW and Longbow Capital and oh god, who else?
Yeah, it must be done. Even if it's not announced. Well, it's obviously not announced because we're talking about it. But the deal with Sauber must be done. Because
if you're listening to this on a Tuesday, it probably already has been.
Yeah, as I said, there's a certain date. I can't remember if it's the 15th of September, which is only 10 days from recording, or the 15th of October, which obviously gives another few weeks. It's one of those where they had to have the entry in and ratified, and because of everything that has to go on, we'll probably hear about it because legal documents have to be published publicly.
Yeah, because I just don't see I don't see Audi making a big song and dance about coming into Formula One if the path in wasn't in stone.
Or the way they sell up, possibly end stone.
Maybe, yeah.
And it looks like we're not going to be getting Andretti.
Real shame that. And you know what? I think it's really bad the way some people in Formula One have talked about Andretti coming into Formula One like it's some sort of like undesirables trying to make their way into the sport.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Chris.
Sorry, I was going to say it is weird because Formula One, as a general rule, is moving towards more American markets, should we say? I don't want to say like Americanization because I think that sometimes is thought of as like a negative term, and that's not what I mean. But they're trying to get more audience in from the United States, and what better way to do that than if you had an American team with the potential of having like an American driver? That's something that is going to get people in the States. I don't mean people who already watch, but people who might not be bothered about Formula One. Oh, there's a US team in Formula One now. We've got Haas, obviously, but you get the feeling that Haas is less American than when they first started. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, Andretti is the legendary name in American motorsport.
Yeah, everybody in America will know Andretti. I mean, probably know Haas as well, but Andretti is it's global, isn't it? And is known for American sport, American motorsport. So it would be fantastic to have an American team with the potential of bringing an American driver in as well to push that forward. Haas, as I say, totally an American team, but like I said, less American. They feel a lot less American, probably since the Mazepin sponsorship thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
and you
as
don't
well.
Really see you don't see Gene Haas anymore at races, do you?
I can't remember the last time I saw him.
Yeah, it's quite often, Gunther Steiner is obviously running that team, and he is the figurehead, the public face for that team.
They have just launched a range of Gunter T-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah, unmistakably Italian. I mean, with a name like Gunther Steiner and an accent like that. But yes, that's why I get the feeling that Haas has kind of gone the other way, kind of Europeanized itself. Your San Diegoans, San Diegans.
But yeah, I don't know that F1 can actually even be picky enough to say, no, we don't want those American lot. When you've got, like Porsche not really quite knowing how they're finding their way in. Audi have been faffing about. It's not like F1 can afford to be too picky about who it lets in to be a team. If they've got the cash and the infrastructure and the whatnot, then it's not like there's 5 or 6 teams waiting to come in.
Andretti are just in the process of building a complete new motorsport headquarters, which looks very much like the McLaren Technology Centre. It does
look very much like the McLaren Technology Centre.
But the thing is, if you were to take a list of brands synonymous with American racing, it's a short list of things that are above Andretti.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. I think it would have been good for the sport.
Yeah, I think our good friend and whiskey correspondent Mike McPherson put it best. He sent us a tweet yesterday saying, "Is it me or is F1 happy to host races here in America, but they don't want American drivers or teams? Why not Andretti on the grid and let her to race?"
Yeah, that seems like I didn't need to say any of that. You could have just said that. I just wasted 5 minutes talking when you said exactly what Mike was to say.
Absolutely valid criticism.
Well, talking of Mike, and to prove he's American, you get to hear what he says in an American accent. He's actually launched his own podcast this week. It's called The Rambling Gator, and he's a really nice guy. And I've had a listen to the first episode. It only actually came out today. And the guy's a fantastic storyteller. So look it up for where you get your normal podcasts from, and I'll post a link on the I have already posted a link on Twitter, but I'll post a link to it in the show notes as well for Spotify. It's well worth a listen.
Yeah,
cool. I've got it on my phone waiting to listen to it.
Let's not forget as well, Mike McPherson was our official correspondent at the Circuit of the Americas a few years ago, where he managed to interview Sean Kelly.
That is true. Right, moving up the grid. Oh boy, we have AlphaTauri next. Get your tinfoil hats out.
No.
Right, Gasly 11th. He just wasn't on it at all.
Yeah, couldn't tell you much more than that about Gasly.
Started roughly there and finished there.
Started exactly there.
Yeah, one of those.
Didn't Gasly start from the pit lane?
No.
No, that was last week.
No, that was Belgium.
I thought he was I thought he was wheeled off at the beginning of the race and started from the pit lane with.
That was in Belgium.
Was it?
It was definitely Belgium.
You see, you do remember something from Belgium.
Such was the impact Gasly had.
Yeah. Oh well, sorry, Gasly.
Yeah, he was just a complete Ken.
A what?
Ken.
No, I never heard that used as an insult before.
It's an old one from Viz. It's the one in the band that nobody can remember who it is. Usually the bass player.
Oh.
You know, like Bros were Matt, Luke, and Ken. Yeah, then Tsunoda. So, pitted, changed the tyres.
Yep.
Something was wrong with the rear.
Yep.
Pulled over. Team said to him, "There's nothing wrong that we can see. Get going again." By which point he'd undone his seatbelts, or some of them.
He'd loosened them, I think. He hadn't actually unclipped them.
Came back, they tightened his seatbelts, sent him out again, and then they realised that the rear diff had failed.
Yes.
And then crawled round to, after turn 3, very slowly, trying to find a convenient place to park up. And that's what brought out the VSC.
No one comes out of it well, do they? I mean, that as a team, you've got your driver saying, "Hang on, something's gone wrong here," and they're like, "No, it's fine." He's not. He's been driving an F1 car for long enough that he's not going to be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" If there's something wrong, he probably knows.
To be fair,
what was weird was that they sent him out of the pit lane after because he was halfway out of the pit lane when he radioed that message in. We heard it late, but he was on his way out of the pit lane when he was just like, "No, there's something wrong. I think the diff's broken," and they told him exit the pits and find a safe place to stop.
Well,
I can see why there's a conspiracy, because it's weird to say exit the pits and find a safe place to stop. He was halfway down the pit lane.
Well, you can't.
Because he was out, wasn't he? He was out of the pit lane
when we heard it, but when he was actually having the conversation, he was in. He literally just left his pit box. He was going down the pit lane when he said what he said.
Maybe maybe.
I wonder if they told him to exit the pits, because if he'd have stopped in the pit lane, they'd have closed the exit, and if there was another car in the pit lane behind him,
maybe
it would have completely screwed up whoever that was, because that car wouldn't be able to move until they'd got his car neutralised and out of the way, which could have taken 5 minutes.
But then sending a car onto the track where you know there's something wrong is also going to screw someone's day.
But it's not unusual, though, is it? It's not unusual to have a car that thinks it's got an issue and they just bring it in and bolt another set of tyres on and send it out just to see if it was something to do with those tyres.
True, I suppose he had just changed tyres, hadn't he? So if it was something that was just like a bit of shite or something that got all up in the tyre.
Well, just the other one to think is
slightly sheared bolt.
Yeah,
but think about the when we have like first corner incidents. Quite often we'll have a car tangle with another car, creep back to the pit, and they'll still bolt a set of tyres onto it and throw it out to see if it still works.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be dead honest. I think the conspiracy theorists are just fucking rabid Hamilton fanboys.
Yeah, I know it's sort of crap that it wasn't a conspiracy. It was just that when at that point, obviously Verstappen was in second, and I made a joking comment on a Discord chat saying "deploy Yuki," and then 2 minutes later he does.
It's all your fault.
I think it's a bit grim that AlphaTauri had to put in a statement out today, basically asking Hamilton fans to stop abusing their strategist.
It's not theirs; it's the Red Bull one.
Hannah Schmitz, isn't
it?
Oh,
is it?
Yeah, but
part of the conspiracy
Williams.
theory is that she was seen smiling on the wall as soon as Yuki was brought out the virtual safety car. She was seen smiling, but
it worked out well for her.
But what we need to remember is that it was Bottas that brought the safety car out, not Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah.
Valtteri, it's James. I still have your number.
What fuck? Do you know what though? Like, it really fucking pisses me off. 2 years ago, you didn't have this in Formula One. Like this sort of fanboy.
Never been that kind of sport.
I know. I think it's always been that kind of sport. I absolutely think it's always been that kind of sport.
No, I mean, it's never been the kind of sport where the fans are so divisive.
It's a lot more. You've always had fans, but they've not been quite as tribal.
Yeah, I can remember when we first started doing this podcast. There was a few new F1 fans who sort of, would trickle in. Now we're getting loads now because of everything that's gone on since Liberty Media taking over. They've done a great job of promoting the sport and getting new fans in and on board. Mm-hmm. But I remember we when we used to do like mailbag like years ago, and one of them was just like, "Oh yeah, who do you guys support and who do you hate?" And it was like, we don't really hate anyone. We've got favorite drivers and maybe ones that were a little bit like, "Oh yeah, not so bothered about them because they're not talented." But it's not like you can go to a Formula One race in a Ferrari hoodie and stand next to somebody in a McLaren hoodie and probably have a really good chat with them. And both enjoy the race.
Usually about which vital organ did you have to sell to buy your official team merch?
The problem with that theory is, with the new fans coming in, it's not new fans coming in, it's Lewis Hamilton fans. If you take Lewis Hamilton out of Formula One, this isn't here.
It's a bit tarring everybody with the same brush.
Sorry, not all Lewis Hamilton fans. But the ones that are fucking assholes online are Lewis. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even think they watch the race. I think they watch Drive to Survive and post on social media. And as I've said in the past, anybody with a Lewis Hamilton's name in their bio, in their name on Twitter, isn't worth fucking engaging with. Like it really annoys me, and it's such a shame because for being someone that's gone to Grand Prix now I'm 40. I went to my first Grand Prix when I just turned 16. It was on my 16th birthday, and all the way through that, even like through the Schumacher days when like there was a real niggle at Schumacher with British fans because of what happened to him taking Damon Hill out. You could joke with the Schumacher fans. It was all like banter seems to be a loaded term now, but it was playful. When you met other fans,
yeah.
Did you guys catch over the weekend that somebody had edited footage from the flare going on the track to make it look like the flare had been thrown at Lewis Hamilton coming out of the pit lane?
No, I only saw the footage that made it look like there was a pigeon dropping the flare on the track.
Yes, I saw the pigeon one.
Yeah, that's quite funny. People should be able to do that. That's the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. That's great.
And I just want to pull you up. I mean, you're saying a lot of them you don't think watch the race. Some of them have to present DIY SOS, so they don't have time to do it.
It's very true.
In true jump cut style, I just wanted to mention the new Formula One podcast again from Will Arnett alongside Mika Hakkinen that's just started. Fast and Loose F1. Will Arnett, you probably heard, you've heard his voice on many things. He's Lego Batman, he was in Arrested Development, he was BoJack Horseman, and hosted the Smartless podcast. And he's now covering an F1 show every week. It's doing everything on and off track, so not only do you get the race reviews, you also get cutting-edge interviews with the drivers, like what's your favourite cheese, that kind of thing. And as a bonus, you get Mika Hakkinen giving race reviews every week, the one and only Flying Finn, and favourite of the podcast, and we'd still love to have him on the show at some point. So you won't just hear from the drivers, you'll hear from the team principals, team owners, anyone that they can get their hands on will be on this show, because they've got a bigger budget than us. Well, they've got a budget. Basically, listen to Fast and Loose F1 on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts, or you can listen ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in the Wondery app. Right, back to the show. Moving on. Aston Martin. That rarity of points. as it seems to be.
Was it point? Was it point?
Point.
Singular point.
Singular point. Stroll was having a good weekend, except for what happened in Q3. But then
that was a shame for him because it's rare that it's that way round, isn't it? Where he's the strong qualifier and not the one that drops out in Q1. So yeah, it was a shame that the car didn't play ball.
Whatever it was, they didn't actually say what it was at the time. They just said a technical issue.
Yeah, I don't think we ever found out actually.
But he managed to recover from that and got himself up to 10th. Which, like I say, thanks to the F1 timing app, at one point looked like 9th. Vettel, another bad day on the farewell tour.
The blue flags.
Yeah, Vettel getting pinged for blue flags.
Vettel.
You know, I mean, he wrote the blue flag song.
Well, maybe that's it then. You write it, it doesn't apply to you.
Ah. Insert Brexit joke here.
There's a hydraulic issue for Stroll, apparently.
Ah, right, okay. But yeah, Vettel getting a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flags when they had the battle for the lead going on behind him.
He did go past. He definitely went past one blue flag, like showing panel, and it still took him a very long time after that to
he seemed like completely oblivious as well. They're like, oh yeah, they're just pootling along in the middle of the road. It's fine.
Meanwhile, yeah, battle for first and second is going off behind him. I know that's where if he was still in that fight, this wouldn't be the farewell tour.
True.
No, of course.
But no, it's sad to see. And like I noticed last week, they were playing his sort of retirement video again, and he's saying he's retiring from F1 by the end of the 2022 season, not at the end, by the end. Now, his English is too good for him to make a grammatical mistake like that. So I think
he's not going to bother with the flyaways.
I think he's leaving his options open just to say, right, fuck it, I've had enough, I'm done. Hulkenberg again.
Yeah. He was bad, wasn't he? You know, he's been turned over by, well, not turned over by Stroll, but you know, it's
turned over by the Strolls.
You don't want to. Well, I don't even think it's that. I think he's got every opportunity to succeed, but he should be so far ahead. Like you stick Alonso in that car next year, he's going to destroy Lance Stroll, like fucking annihilate him.
And he did cock up his qualifying Vettel because he ran wide on, I think it was his sort of preparation lap for what would have been the flying lap, and fucked it basically. So that did not help matters. But yeah, he never really looked like he was going to get that much further forward than where he qualified.
I didn't get to see Q1 because I was doing a fundraising endurance race.
I blame the headband for Sebastian Vettel's performance.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the headband. It's not for me.
1990s Argentinian footballer cosplay, I think was what I described it as. McLaren next. Lando 7th. Unlucky. Could have had more.
Don't know. Everybody ahead of him was faster than him, and that's not a slight on Lando. That's just where McLaren are at the moment.
You've got 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bull, 2 I suppose on the road, 2 Ferrari, 1 ended
on the road 2 Ferraris, but then you got the Alpine as well, and Alpine are better than McLaren at the moment.
Yeah, it's just not at contracts.
Yeah, I was going to say
it was one of those binary results for McLaren.
Oh, Ricciardo's right up there for a participation award this week.
Was that his 2 ridiculously early pit stops? Was there a reason for that? I haven't seen anything that says
I think he couldn't make tyres do stuff.
Well, I mean, getting knocked out in Q1 as well can't help.
Because he couldn't switch the tyres on. They were both of the McLarens were around about the same, and then all of a sudden the track rubbered in a bit, off goes Lando, and Ricciardo was just sort of not able to match it.
But yeah, I mean, Ricciardo's first 2 pit stops were ridiculously early for whatever kind of strategy
he'd made 2 pit stops before the Mercedes had come in, either of them.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah.
He was on. He started on mediums as well, didn't he? I think Ricardo.
Yes.
Yeah. Pirelli before the race, I think, said the mediums were good for sort of at the peak for about 30, 35 laps. He barely got 10.
Mm.
I think
I know he. Did you hear about the end of the race for him, the pit radio?
Yeah, it was quite sort of an emotional exchange.
Yeah. So I
didn't hear that. What happened with the pit radio?
He was sort of radioed in. They said, "Oh, sorry guys, like it's not what we wanted today." And the pit crew radio back said, "No." He said, "Don't worry though. We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. We're going to keep trying with you. And we're going to try and get through this." And then he just sort of had a big sigh. He said, "Yeah, Monza." And I really don't know. Given the fact he's going back there to where he won last year, the only flash of Ricciardo we've had through the whole McLaren experience, I'm not quite sure how to deal with a Ricciardo after Monza if it's awful as well.
It didn't feel very honey badgerish, did it? It was a very sort of sad radio message.
He even sounds really downbeat in F1 Manager when he gets overtaken. No, he comes back with, "Yeah, this is my pace."
Oh, no, it's really sad. I tell you what, if they've took all the audio from races of the drivers for F1 Manager, they'll be fucking doing well to find any recent stuff of him being happy.
It's just going to be Monza on a loop.
Yeah, even points. Just if he can get in the points next, I don't even think he has to beat Lando. If he can be around Lando and get some points, at least it will be a sort of a glimmer of hope for him.
He doesn't appear to have much.
Well, I thought the losing his seat. Right, he's definitely lost now. Right, you're not racing for McLaren. Might have took some of the weight away. You know, sometimes you see this with drivers when something like that happens, it's just like the old ones of like, oh, I'm just racing for me now. You know, that sort of
yeah.
If I'm sure a Felipe Massa and a Barrichello have both said things like this in the past.
Yeah, Barrichello was nice about it. Massa was a bit aggressive when he found out he was losing his Ferrari seat, if you remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, Massa had given like blood, sweat, and tears, hadn't he, to try and make Ferrari and like a chunk of his head, probably. Yeah, poor Massa.
And after all that time, Fernando was still faster than him, Felipe, baby.
Yeah.
Right, talking of Fernando, he was the fastest of the two Alpines.
Yeah, good performance by Fernando. He likes Zandvoort, doesn't he? The looks of things.
Yeah,
I think it's the banking aspect. I think that sort of IndyCar vibe seems to give him the edge.
Yeah, this year, every time you saw him go around turn 3, he took the low line.
Just to prove he can?
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Alpine are definitely fourth this season.
Yeah, I would
at the
say
moment.
So.
Yeah, and... You know, coming into the last 7 races, last third of the season, we're not going to get...
They can't not be fourth unless some massive happens with the car, or can they really?
No, it's. I think that car is better than McLaren's at the moment. I think they are. I think early doors, you would have said it was probably Red Bull and Ferrari out front, with Mercedes kind of in no man's land in third, and then a few teams behind in fourth, fifth. It was a bit murky behind Mercedes. Yeah. Mercedes have kind of closed up a little bit, sort of towards Ferrari. Red Bull have edged forward a bit, but Alpine, I think, have put themselves as a car and as a team as the clear fourth place at the moment.
And I think this weekend went a long way to show it. Alonso 6th, Ocon 9th, and just solid by both of them. You know, if they were as good on paper as they are on the track.
Mm-hmm. And they both.
God, it's usually the other way around, isn't it?
Neither of those two made it through to Q3, I don't think, either. So to have sort of ended up in the points is progress.
Alonso was a little bit ranty after Q2, apparently.
Fair.
Blaming other people.
Okay.
He got caught in traffic.
It's a short track. I'm sure a lot of people got caught in traffic.
But
yeah, in qualifying, he did get cut up a little bit on his flying lap.
I think he went. Did he go out earlier and then ran into everyone that was just preparing for their flyers?
I think so. He tried to do the getting the lap in the gap, but it didn't work.
It has done before, but it only works well on certain tracks, and it's you got to do it on the longer ones. Spa is a prime example of a track where it works, and Silverstone as well. But when this one's as tight as it is, and especially on a track as narrow as this, where passing is at a premium and going offline really screws you up, even if you're just on an outlap. Yeah. Wasn't a monumental weekend to remember for any strategist, really, was it? Well, apart from
Red Bull did fairly well. I know it's a bit too far to speak about Red Bull at the moment, I suppose, given that we're not talking about them. But their strategy was different to Mercedes's, and even Virtual Statman has looked at the times and thought that it's quite likely Verstappen still would have caught and passed Lewis Hamilton before the end of the race had there been no safety cars. But it would have been really interesting to see. That's what we didn't get to see. We may as well start talking about Ferrari. Ferrari were next, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in 1, 2, 3, third place, not fourth, because they don't do 4 when it comes to tyres either.
We're getting 3 tyres ready for Carlos Sainz and then releasing him into the path of Fernando Alonso, and then
that was 2 separate pit stops. They cocked up twice.
Yeah, and then what else? There were so many other things.
They left their wheel
wrong.
gun in the middle of the pit lane.
They did. They shut the wheel gun down, and Perez ran over it. Oh God! Yeah.
Somehow McLaren got dragged into the blame for that.
No, McLaren got blamed for the signs pulling out in front of Alonso because he reckoned that because the McLaren I think had someone in at the same time, their arse was sticking out too far or something. I don't know.
McLaren had Norris in, and they had to hold Sainz for Norris going in, and they said that was a late. But he was so slow coming out of his pit box.
I think that's what he was blaming McLaren for, that he had to come out at a funny angle. I mean, which doesn't in any way affect the fact that there's an Alonso there.
Yeah, I mean, the pit lane at Zandvoort is short
tight
and narrow, and the cars actually pit at an angle and have got to make a harder turn when they come out to get back into the fast lane.
Yeah. Is there a question that possibly that needs looking at? Is it too tight?
Yeah, I think it might be. I mean, F2 and F3 brought in the rule that no pit stops under safety cars because of the lack of room.
Mm.
Now I don't know if that was just the F2 feature race one for pit stops that counted and I misheard, but yeah, they were stopping pitting under safety cars.
Is that because the F2 don't get oodles of space to work with?
They've got the entirety of the front of each garage, so they've got a pit box. They've got space for the tyres.
Yeah, it's not normally an issue.
And they've got smaller pit crews because they're only allowed 7.
Mm.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which I suppose means under a safety car there's maybe an increased chance of double stacking, which probably would be a faff. But yeah, it's not a normal rule for F2 normally. Pitting under the safety car. Fine. They don't have pitting under VSC, do they?
Oh, they might do now. I think they might have changed the rules again. It varies.
Oh, I thought they didn't have pitting under VSC. But
definitely didn't this weekend.
No, but no, normally not a drama for F2.
Oh, while we're on the subject of F2, first rockstar of the week, the F2 pigeon that didn't die.
Oh, the one crossing the road?
Yes.
That was nice.
Just fucking fearless, wasn't it?
But 4 cars went past him.
Yeah, didn't give a shit.
3 of them in Red Bull liveries, and they're usually the crashiest. But yeah, Ferrari, if they can find a way to fuck things up, they do it.
It's just crazy, isn't it? Like, you've just got a team that seems to go out of its way. Even that, like, the wheel gun being left there for Perez to drive over. Mm. It's just so fucking typically Ferrari.
Yeah, Matteo Binotto has got into a bit of an comment spat with Nico Rosberg over this. Rosberg said, if I can find the exact quote, "Oh my goodness," he said about the Ferrari pit stops. "Binotto keeps saying, no, we don't need to make changes. Everything's going well. When is this day coming? It's not possible. Even Formula 2 teams or F3 teams do a better job at their strategy and pit stops than Ferrari."
I find it hard to disagree with these comments.
Yeah, Binotto has fired back saying it's easy to speak when you're outside of the paddock.
Yes, it is, because we have a bird's eye view of how many tyres you've got out the blankets.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, where's your tyre, man? For where's this 4th tyre? Like the man with the gun was there. Did the man with the gun be like,
where's the tyre guy?
Where's Dave?
I felt like they were all there. It's like, has one of them just got there and go, oh shit, I only have something with me at this point? Like, how has this happened?
Do you remember
Nico's got a fairly good knowledge of a team that actually fucking works well too.
That you don't even need that. You just need to know the quantity of tyres on a car. This is not specialist knowledge.
Well, that apparently that was a late call to bring him in, wasn't it? And they didn't actually give the team enough time to get the fucking tyre.
Which in itself is a cock up. If your engineer,
why were 3 of them ready?
But yeah, well, no. If the engineer's going to the pit crew, get ready, lads, he's coming in. They need to then be turning around, going, no, we're not ready. Do another one.
But even then, I'm not even sure how much I buy into that, because it's not like George Russell gave Mercedes a whole host of time when he said he wanted to come in.
I think was he actually on the pit lane when he said he wanted to come in?
He was approaching pit lane.
Pretty much, because they were going through the pit lane anyway, weren't they?
Yeah.
Safety car was going through the pit lane. He's like, I'm coming in. He's like, oh shit, right, okay, he's here now, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Mercedes were going to double stack on that one. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, Ferrari are still getting podiums despite themselves.
Well, yeah, because in fairness, they cocked up 2 of Sainz's pit stops. Actually, Leclerc fairly untainted by the Ferrari.
Not Ferrari for starting second and second and 5th and finishing 3rd and 8th.
I mean, don't forget. I mean, we missed this one from Belgium, but Leclerc going for the fastest lap and ending up not only not getting it, but getting a pit lane speeding penalty.
Yes.
And Binotto blaming Red Bull for it, because apparently it was one of Max Verstappen's tear-offs that got caught in the Ferrari brake duct, which broke one of the sensors, which meant he couldn't tell if he was under the pit lane speed limit.
I mean, that is unfortunate, but like Max Verstappen's got bloody good aim if he can get it into somebody's brake duct from 3 cars in front or whatever he was.
If he managed that, he deserves it.
Yeah. If any team will think, right, just pull slightly to the left of the car in front of you and then take your tear off out, and then just throw it in there. If any team were going to do that, it would be Red Bull.
or 1990s Benetton.
90s Benetton. Yeah, I still don't believe that was, it wasn't deliberate. Nobody did that on purpose.
I mean, the Ferrari excuse generator is getting a Rockstar award for this season.
It's working hard, isn't it? It's probably the hardest working member of the team.
Well, it's certainly working harder than the left rear tyre guy.
To be fair, I think it's some sort of advanced AI, because it works quicker than any human could.
Well, let's face it, Ferrari have got a lot of A, but not a lot of I about them this season.
Yeah, I mean, how gutted would you be if you were Carlos Sainz right now? In that car, when you saw how quick it was at the beginning of the season, you were like, all right, okay. I mean, we're sort of not number 1, but we're not far off number 1. This is going to be a good season. And just the amount of mistakes that, admittedly, both drivers and the team have made, they're so far behind now that I think pulled up the stat yesterday. I think George Russell is 13 points away from being Max Verstappen's nearest challenger.
Mm.
So a poor race in Monza for Ferrari, and George Russell is and Perez, of course, and George Russell is there. He is then, the best of the rest behind the man who's, let's be honest, already won the World Championship. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
I think Kieran Thompson, former co-presenter and all-round friend of the podcast, put it best when he retweeted my tweet from a few weeks ago, with the question, how many more times do I need to retweet this over the season? The tweet being, Ferrari forgetting to bring any bullets to a shoot yourself in the foot competition again.
But what happens, I know we always turn around and say, oh, well, Ferrari can't just go around sacking people because that hasn't worked in the past. But stability hasn't worked either.
There's something else, isn't there? There is something else wrong. It's not personnel. It's something in the culture or the preparation they do or whatever it is. Something doesn't work.
Is it too Italian? Like, I wonder if they're not hiring enough outside of the pool. I mean, the last really competitive Ferrari sort of, I kind of class Massa's Ferrari in this as well, because he was the knock on, wasn't he? He was just coming out of the Schumacher era, but when Ferrari were where they really want to be, and by all rights should be, you had a British technical director, French team principal. I wonder if this thing, because it was De Montezemolo, wasn't it? De Montezemolo wanted to make Ferrari Italian again. I just wonder whether that's maybe a misstep. Not that there's not people in Italy that can run a fucking motorsports team. Of course there are, but if you decide
work for Ferrari,
but if you decide like I only want to hire from this pool, then you're only as good as the best in that pool.
I mean, poaching a cigarette salesman from your main sponsor to run the team.
It's not ideal.
That wasn't the best idea. And I mean, Binotto's been there. I mean, he was Vettel's engine guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was Alonso's engine guy.
Yeah, he was technical director before he was team principal.
He was Schumacher's. Was it? He was a race engineer of some kind for Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Was it? I can't remember what his job was, but yeah, he was the engine man, as you say, for Fernando Alonso.
So he's been there long enough, and he should know how it works. But is it coming from above? Is it the Fiat Chrysler board that's doing it to him?
If it was Sergio Marchionne still in charge, I would say yes. But the people in charge of Ferrari, say Fiat Chrysler, is still, I think it still owns a stake in Ferrari, but Ferrari decided to become its own thing again. So I don't know if shouting orders from above is still the done thing. Is it? I can't remember the guy's name. Johan something, who now runs the whole group, but he doesn't seem like the guy who's gonna. He's not Marchionne micromanaging every single little aspect of everything. Like, your boss turns up and starts doing your job for you.
Funnily enough, they had bad races every time he was there.
And he was there every day.
Yeah. But, yeah, Ferrari have just got an inherent problem. Binotto's saying they're not making changes, so changes afoot in Ferrari within the next 6 to 8 weeks?
I don't know. It's just Ferrari wouldn't clear themselves out, would they? They'd have to get somebody in to do it for them.
I mean, Binotto's going to be the next fall guy, and it's just going to carry on. I can't see things changing without a massive change of ethos for the whole team. I mean, certainly whoever's in charge of strategy there needs to take a long, hard look at themselves, and maybe check some spreadsheets as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're still using Lotus 123. At least move on to XL97. Anyway, rant over. Mercedes. An angry Hamilton in fourth, and George Russell equaling his best performance in second. Russell definitely had the faster car.
And the better strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis got a good start, apart from nearly hitting Carlos Sainz. But then
I don't think it was nearly. I think he did catch him a little bit, just
I think
right
it was
on the
a
side
brushing, I think, rather than a hitting, just a light brushing.
Yeah, he, as I say, it was a good start by Lewis, less good start by George. But when the strategy sort of panned out, it did look like, and it was quite clear that George Russell had the faster of the two cars. He was catching Lewis before before any of the safety cars happened, the virtual or the full safety car. Whilst Lewis was catching Max, knowing that Max still had to make another pit stop. George was also catching Lewis. So we could have had, right towards the end of the race, in theory, we could have had Max Verstappen trying to chase down two Mercedes, and then Mercedes would have had to, make a decision. Do we let these guys fight each other and possibly finish second and third, or do we tell one of them to defend really hard and let the other one go and win the race? But that never happened. And that's the way. That's the way of the sport.
Yeah, as it was when we saw the pass by Russell and Hamilton, they were definitely racing each other.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there was any team orders in effect there at all whatsoever. But I think George said after the race, didn't he? He tried so hard to try and catch Max in those last few laps, but just didn't have the pace. That Red Bull is just so far ahead of everyone else at the moment. Strangely, just that one Red Bull. But
that was the thing. They'd done their experiments with Perez, hadn't they? They might as well do Red Bull at the same time as Mercedes, because we usually do the top 2 or 3 teams. But they brought Checo in for a set of hard tyres just to do some data gathering on when to pit Max, and that really sort of compromised the end of the race for him.
Yeah,
because it was before the safety cars. Because Max said when he came in for his next stop, he didn't want to go on to mediums. He'd been on a set of mediums, but he apparently didn't like them. But the medium was the unfavoured tyre of the weekend, and it was too early for soft. So I think they stuck Checo on the hard tyre just to see what the drop off would be, what the lack of speed in comparison would be to the softer tyres, and that's what really did for him. That's why he was in 5th. That was the best that he could have got with the strategy that they'd planned for him. That was a designed 5th place.
I don't think it was designed until after the start, probably.
Oh no! It was strategy on the fly, because that was the way that the race was panning out. And Red Bull are in a position where, they can sacrifice a few constructors' points, and it's not going to matter if Checo doesn't get on the podium. We're still going to win everything this year. That's the way I see it, anyway.
Yeah. Yes, it's hard to see any other outcome, isn't it, other than Red Bull winning both championships by a considerable margin. Did we work out yesterday that it's mathematically possible in Singapore, but it's more likely to happen in Japan that Verstappen will be?
I think a lot of things have to go wrong for others in Singapore.
Yeah, but
it's not
Italy.
Yeah, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Let's be honest, the way Ferrari are going.
Italy and Singapore. I think basically everybody else has to not score, and
he needs like a Verstappen, Magnussen, Latifi podium or something like that, and he'll be fine.
Well, Monza, who knows?
It could happen.
We've seen weirder things. A Lance Stroll podium.
It's going to be bloody
Baku,
interesting.
yeah.
It's going to be bloody interesting watching Ferrari go to Italy with the pressure that's on them in that there.
What, Ferrari?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. The Tifosi will let them get away with anything until 30 seconds after the checkered flag,
and then we riot.
Then they will be calling for blood.
Well, there's already going to be some sort of rioting going on anyway, isn't there? Because a load of people that bought tickets for the race can't go.
Yes. Was it a grandstand that they thought was going to be refurbished has not been refurbished in time, or presumably being built by Ferrari?
It's just, I mean, if it is, if Ferrari are anything to do with
I
that,
joke. I don't actually think that's a serious thing.
Wouldn't it be amazing if it was like the Ferrari fan stand?
What, they'd only put the seat backs on, they didn't actually do the city bit.
They've not screwed the seats in properly.
Yeah, they didn't put chairs, they put tables. It's just like a grandstand full of tables.
Oh, Ferrari, you provide us with such quality material. Never change.
Constantly.
It could be good racing material, that's the thing, but it just isn't.
I was going to say never change, except the left rear.
Well, they can't keep blaming drivers. You know, Ferrari have had like basically cracking lineups now for years. You know, even Vettel before they destroyed him. You know, they got good Vettel. Let's be honest, they still got good Vettel.
Yeah,
they
Vettel broke won championships with Ferrari. Just didn't.
I'm trying to remember the last time Ferrari had a permanent, not stand-in driver who was. Why the hell's he there?
It's also a driver who wasn't a stand-in.
Yeah, because I mean, Luca Badoa doesn't really count, and Fisichella didn't get the results when he stood in for Massa.
No,
it's got to be Nicola Larini, surely, in 1994. But after that, it was a Lacey Berger, and then they went to Benetton when they did the swap, didn't they? And Schumacher and all of Schumacher's team basically went to Ferrari with Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking back. Yeah, I think it. Larini was only a stand-in.
Yeah, Larini. That's what I mean. Oh, was he a permanent driver who he wants to know why?
Yeah, a permanent. Fuck. I mean, the last time Ferrari had a permanent driver that was absolute pants.
I think he was in a seat share that year, wasn't he, Nicola Larini?
No, he only did two races in '94 while Alesi was out. And
one of them
Ivan Capelli, 1992.
Yeah, he was a full-time driver.
Who was that bad? He got replaced by Nicola Larini, who could only manage 11th and 12th in the last two races of the season.
Well, to be fair, 1992 was probably the worst Ferrari of all time.
Still got fourth in the Constructors' Championships, and Alesi got a couple of podiums out of it. Admittedly, retired more races than he finished.
That's when they did the double chassis, which everyone was like, "Oh my god, a double chassis! Is this allowed?" And I was like, "Yes, it's allowed." Is it quick? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that season finished six races, all in the top 5, and retired in 10.
Yeah,
but yeah,
so obviously,
I think Ivan Capelli was the last time Ferrari had a driver that was on the iffy side.
Yeah, Fisichella and Badoa, they were stand-ins, weren't they?
Yeah. Mika Salo as well.
Stand-in, yeah, for Schumacher when he broke his leg.
Yeah, although he did get 2 podiums during that season.
I'm trying to go back even further because before that you had Mansell was at Ferrari, wasn't he, for 2 years? Haley Alboreto, they still idolize Alboreto. Yeah, it's straight. Ferrari, generally speaking, don't have poor driver choice. They just have poor Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, you go back. I'm going back as far as 1980, and there's some absolute legendary names in there.
1980 would have been Didier Pironi, was it?
It was 80 was Scheckter and Villeneuve.
Scheckter and Villeneuve.
Yeah, Pironi was 81. I mean, the 1980 Ferrari, 8 points, 10th place in the Constructors. That's probably the worst Ferrari. But
the 1980 Ferrari?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. And then going back before that, you had Reutemann and Lauda. They were teammates, weren't they?
They were teammates for most of 77.
And then Clay Regazzoni was a driver at Ferrari. Was that at the same time as Niki Lauda?
At the same time as Lauda.
And then getting before that, I start losing Ferrari drivers. Then
you're into the Mario Andretti, Jackie Hicks era.
See, I can only go back that far, really.
And Regazzoni kept coming and going. I don't remember all this. I've got.
They ran 3 cars, didn't they? At 76. The year James Hunt won the title, because they thought that Lauda was going to be out for so long. They ended up running 3 cars. With Regazzoni.
Yeah, 3 cars.
Regazzoni, Reutemann, and Lauda, was it?
And Lauda made a comeback, yeah.
Yeah, that's as far back as I can go with Ferrari drivers. I can't go any further back than that.
But okay, so
I probably got missing.
But you're going back 46 years, and we're only looking at one iffy driver.
I don't know. There's probably more in there. I just can't remember who else is in there.
Well, I mean, we've gone through all the permanent drivers that they had, and we've gone through a lot of them, but they've all been good, and it's Ferrari that have just been the bad ones. It's
bad Ferrari.
It's unfortunate. As far as Mercedes go, that track definitely suited them.
Yeah, do you think Mercedes might overtake Ferrari for second place before the end of the year?
I don't know. I mean, what's the gap at the minute? 30 points. It's not
much.
It's not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. It's not much either, is it? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to suggest for Ferrari. Obviously, Mercedes, I think, are probably going to take second place in the championship. But let's not take nothing away. Once again, we get, what's this, the 10th time this season we've had to say this. Let's take nothing away from Max Verstappen, and another absolutely stellar performance from him in that car with that team.
It was because at first I just thought he did a great restart, but apparently Lewis had his he was in the wrong mode on the restart.
Oh, I didn't.
You're not allowed to change engine modes. Oh, I see, because it was behind the safety car. Yeah, maybe he was. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you are allowed to change for that.
Wrong tyre won't have helped either.
No. And yeah, Lewis made his feelings perfectly clear about how he thought they'd got the strategy wrong, and I mean, it sounded like the year of the bad Monaco pit stop.
Yeah, in all fairness, he did sort of come out and apologise for that, saying how he was just.
I can understand
heat
it
at the moment. Yeah, I can absolutely, especially when you've got your teammate breathing down your neck as well.
Toto described it afterwards as teams apparently expect drivers to treat them like vomit bags.
Oh, it's
a beautiful image.
Right, okay.
Teams expect drivers to treat them like vomit bags. Is that? Yeah, I don't know. Is that like a?
I think it was in defence of Hamilton, in that he was saying, we know it happens. They're just spewing out shite. It's fine. But yeah, it was a lovely image he conjures up.
Yeah, and fair play to Lewis for apologising afterwards and saying, look, it was caught in the moment, right on the edge of I can't remember what he said now, but right on the edge of emotion. It was, to do the restarting first, and then, a few laps later, you're in fourth, and then the race ends. That's really gonna grate on you. If that happened to me whilst I was doing Formula One on the PlayStation, I'd be pretty pissed off. But it's so for it to happen in real life. Good Lord.
I mean, he made a point of thanking the mechanics, and just the mechanics on his cool-down lap.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit pointed at the time, but I mean, I'm sure everything's all fine with everyone in that team, and if it isn't, we'll find out very soon.
I would have thought so. He probably sent Angela around to apologise to everyone on his behalf, because she does everything for him.
It was a strange like misstep from Mercedes, that, because they've been so good all day, on strategy. I think the double stack was probably the way to go. To stick them both on the softs.
Yeah,
it's one of those, isn't it? As soon as they agree to let George stop, they have to let Lewis stop as well. Otherwise, he's always going to get passed by Verstappen. You either keep them both there and at least have that buffer, or you stick them both on the softs and at least give them a chance to defend against what's behind.
Yeah. Would Lewis have been through and past pit lane before if
he'd
George
lost the lead if they stopped him?
No, but if George was like on the approach to pit lane, when
then
he said,
yeah, presumably Lewis would have gone. At that point, they either have to bring Lewis in on the next go around, or say to George, no, that's gonna ruin the team result.
Yeah, it does make you wonder whether it was a little bit of gamesmanship on George's part.
Well, if it was, it worked for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got the best of it.
Yeah. It's just fucking thoughts now. But if you've got a driver that's been put on the mediums and he's thought to himself at the time, thinking this is not the bad way, and on his way round, he's thought, right, I'm getting these off and I'm getting softs on whether they like it or not. Yeah, and that's why it was such a late call, from saying I'm coming in, I want soft tires, and at that point it's just like panic, just don't do it. He's coming in.
I mean, it definitely worked.
Alonso-ish, if I'll be honest, like we're like in the teammate battle like wars, it's a Alonso-esque move.
Yeah, made it all about him.
Strong-armed it.
Yeah.
But without that, there'd be no Mercedes on the podium.
Because presumably they would have both got caught by the Ferraris. I imagine that's what George would have been thinking about. I'd been like, oh shit, there's 2 cars behind us on fresh softs. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah. But Red Bull pulled it out again. Yeah, okay, they sacrificed Perez, but it got them the data that gave Max the race.
I was so gutted. I had 10 quid on a Red Bull 1-2. Verstappen Perez, because the other way around would just be ridiculous. And I had 10 quid on George Russell to win the race.
I only had 2 quid on George to win. Knew I should have gone each way. And 2 quid on Sainz.
That didn't work out too well either.
No, it didn't. No, that's 4 quid or nearly a pint. I won't say again. Are you going to be
sending an invoice to the Ferrari pit stop people for cocking that one up?
It cost more in postage.
At least it wasn't 20 quid.
Rockstars and wankers.
Oh. I don't think we're going to have to think too much about wankers, are we?
No, I mean we've already said Haas for the pit stops.
No, those were not the pit stops we were thinking of.
Maybe it's something to do with the shape of that particular car.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Rockstars. Obviously, we've said the pigeon. Max, Red Bull, and the strategy and the team in general.
Honourable mention for Lando and Fernando. I think they had, especially Fernando, had a cracking race, didn't he? And Lando just did what the car was capable of doing.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lance Stroll as well. For actually getting an Aston Martin in the top 10, which doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I know we're normally pretty harsh on him, but he was the fastest Aston Martin driver.
It's like a second on the bill sort of rock star rather than like a headline rock star.
Yeah, he's sort of mid-afternoon on the second stage at the festival.
Yeah, solid.
I wonder if that car's better than it is.
If it had like a decent driver, not someone who's checked out already and not someone who's a bit shit.
Yeah, and because like Stroll can be like half decent sometimes. So
but
it's
very
a bit like,
inconsistent.
Remember all the conversations we had for years about how good Williams was, and we didn't realise because you had Bottas and Massa in it. A bit like that.
I miss those days.
So do Williams.
Yeah, what was it they said this week? Williams has finished in every position since 2014 except first. Yes.
Bloody hell. Any others?
That's like saying I've had every mood except
the best one.
The Danny Ricciardo Participation Award goes to Danny Rick.
Yeah.
I think we have.
Well, I mean, it was even that was even worse than Participation Award. Like that was negative points, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think someone like a Guan Yu Zhou is more like a sort of completely neutral participant this weekend.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a great deal of him either. That was about that was about it. Now, before we do a Monza preview and predictions, we've got. I'm springing this on everyone. It's a slightly new game. This is just a one-off.
What is happening?
But it's carrying on with the Yorkshire theme of who the bloody hell's that then. This one's called How Bloody Much?
I'm interested.
Right, I thought you might be. So,
intrigued.
I can't.
Is this a quick quiz? Because I've got to be honest, I'd forgotten we were doing a Monza preview, and I do need a wee.
It'll be quick.
Okay.
It's only a quick thing. So I can't say who sent this in on air, but he knows who he is, and I'll tell the rest of you later. But the scenario is, you're hosting an event, and you want an after-dinner speaker. And because you're a Formula One fan, you want to get a Formula One related after-dinner speaker.
Okay.
So you want to get some quotes for how much it'll cost for usual after-dinner speaking.
I see. Is this going to be like a higher or lower situation?
Yeah. So your baseline is
well better than Total Shunt.
No, I'm gripped. I must admit, I'm here.
Your baseline for this,
yes,
is friend of the podcast Jenny Gow, who charges £3,000.
Okay.
For an after-dinner speech, reasonable price.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay. Now, if Jenny Gow charges £3,000, put your heads together, and how much do the following charge?
Oh God.
So your first one is the original Stig, Perry McCarthy.
Perry McCarthy, now he did drive Formula One for a very short time, didn't he?
About 150 yards, apparently.
Yeah.
That is quite short.
See, I'd like to think he'd be lower than like professional journalist Jenny Gow.
I think
think
someone
so,
who made it,
Stig.
someone who made it to F1 will have more ego than Jenny Gow, despite the fact she might be, in the present time, a lot more relevant.
Yeah.
I think he might be a $7,000 booking.
I was going to say 8.
Ooh.
I was going to say 10.
Oh.
You can book Perry McCarthy for 3.
Really? Oh, same as a
That's
Jenny
right.
Gow.
Same as Jenny Gow.
Wow.
All right.
So I
then.
could have 3 Perry McCarthys and some change from what I thought he might cost.
What a down-to-earth guy, working class hero, love him.
Okay. Crofty.
Oh.
10 grand.
I reckon he rates himself. Yeah, I reckon he's about 10 grand.
Yeah.
I'm going to say about 8, based on the last one.
Okay. Between 3 and 5.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
These people work for peanuts.
Modest.
Yeah.
Right.
Why haven't we had more guests?
Because we don't pay $3,000 a guest.
Why haven't
Don't start that rumour that we pay people $3,000 to turn up.
Patrons do your thing.
Then they'll turn up and they'll, well, you assumed.
All right then. Jensen.
Ooh.
Oh, 100 grand. And a drive.
He should be charging more than $3,000. I'm gonna go.
Well, I'm gonna go 10 because if like we thought Crofty was a 10.
Yeah.
Crofty's not a 10. An ex-Formula One world champion.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It's got to be 10 or above, hasn't it? I think you're looking minimum 5 figures here.
Yeah.
10 to 12.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's solid.
Reasonable.
Mark Webber.
Made his mark.
Way. I think he'd be the same, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I think that he'll be the same is because like Jensen, him, were in that sort of little group of drivers, weren't they, which were all mates.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they've got the same agent.
Or the ones that would go cycling and that lot.
But there is a world championship in it for Jensen.
There is.
So.
I think Webber's quite a character, though, isn't he? I imagine he is a very entertaining after-dinner speaker.
Yeah, I'm going to say 16 grand.
Oh, hello.
Wow.
I was thinking maybe more like 12.
I think 10. I think the extra $2,000 that Jensen can charge is the world championship.
Okay.
And Webber will be a flat 10.
All right. Flood, you were the closest. It's actually 15.
Wow.
Holy fuck.
Jensen's underselling himself, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice guy, see.
And finally,
Oh.
James Allen.
Oh.
Oh no.
£560 million.
I can't
10
imagine
pence.
he brings the charisma to a speech. I'm not feeling it. I'm going to go... I don't know.
Do you know what the thing is, though? You know the people that go to that hire James Allen to give an after dinner speech are going to be just as twatty as him.
Yeah, they're going to love it.
They are. It's just going to be a load of people that are like upper middle management jobs.
I mean, the only time I've come across James Allen, he was elbowing me out of the way at the Mercedes launch to get to the espresso bar before me.
I spoke to James Allen in an airport after the Belgian Grand Prix, when you remember he did the interview with David Coulthard. He interviewed David Coulthard after the Belgian Grand Prix.
Oh, after that one.
Yeah, and he was asked sort of what did you say? And Coulthard said in the interview, he said, "You tried to fucking kill me." When he was talking about Schumacher, yeah, he was in the queue waiting to get on the same plane, hasn't he? I didn't even, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know who James Allen was. I didn't know it was James Allen at the time. I was only told afterwards.
But the question is, how much did he charge you for that conversation?
Yeah, but not if it depends if it was after dinner or not, doesn't it? So
yeah,
I'm going to go $8,000 based on the tariffs we've seen so far.
He should be about 2.5, but
pounds.
It's probably of pork.
Oh,
but it's
So we've not specified currency up until now.
no. But I think it should be about 2.5, but I reckon he charges a solid 13.
I think he rates himself as highly as Mark Webber.
Jesus.
And it's $16,000 because I think he sells himself on. He was in Formula One through the Schumacher era. And I bet that's it. He just gets up and talks about like that era of Formula One, which if you happen to be in a company renting guest speakers for dinners would be just the type of era that if you're sort of in your mid to late 50s was you would think was the heyday of Formula One.
Just quickly, if we disappear, or if one of us disappears, there's a massive lightning storm moving through the UK, and it's just in the Irish Sea now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
We better crack on then.
Yeah, so make your guess.
I said 8.
8? Flood?
I think he rates himself higher than Jenson Button. I think he thinks he's about 13 grand.
I think Flood's right, but I'm still going to say 16.
10.
Wow.
So there you go. That is how much it would cost you to get an F1 after dinner speaker.
Can we just sit for a split second? Like we've all done it. We've all spent too much money on a night out and woke up the next day going, or bought something, and then before you can actually, when you come to your senses and you try and cancel it on Amazon, it's already been shipped. Imagine the buyer's remorse you've got when you've just spent 10 grand on James Allen.
That'd be like getting drunk and buying 6 VR headsets.
It was 8. But,
and they called you the next day, to be fair.
No, I called them immediately.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I rang that. I was looked at as a fucking accident. I would just like one of the £800 fucking VR headsets. Thank you very much, please.
So we have Monza this weekend. It's fast. We all know it. It's straight. Couple of 3 chicanes, couple of curves, and put your foot
usually
down.
A bit boring.
This season means that it's full on Red Bull territory, doesn't it? Because that straight line speed of that car is just insane.
Yeah, it's going to be what you call it? Belgium all over again for the Red Bulls.
Where they just disappear.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I think the big question really is who's going to come third?
At the moment, I'd say a Mercedes because I think they're in the process of overhauling Ferrari. But it is Ferrari's home race, so you don't know. Sometimes they get really good luck. More often than not, they cock it up.
I I think they're too far off.
What, Mercedes?
Yeah, no, Ferrari, like for pulling something together for the Italian Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, no, but is a third place because.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Ferrari pulling something out.
I'm pretty convinced it's a Red Bull one too.
Yeah,
of course it is. Yeah, but as a third place, it's got to be either between Mercedes and Ferrari, I would think. Probably a Mercedes, could be a Ferrari.
Mm. Yeah, isn't it weird how AlphaTauri hasn't got the straight line speed? It's like that straight line speed that Red Bull have got is nowhere to be seen from the sister team with the same engines.
Yeah, it's an aero thing, isn't it, with Red Bull, the philosophy that they've gone down. Yeah. Although Mercedes, I don't know how long they'll stick to their guns on this, but Mercedes still say that eventually that's going to put them into a corner where they can't develop the car anymore, and they believe that their philosophy is going to leave them open to further develop and outdevelop the rest of the field, which remains to be seen.
Yeah, so I feel that
they're going to try and improve on the deflated Dalek.
As far as the car design thing goes right now, I think Mercedes might need to mind their own beeswax.
It was a brave choice to go down that route.
I'm just going to excuse myself for reasons that will be very funny. Our late presenter has locked herself out of work and I live the closest and she's on air in 3 minutes. So.
Oh, right, so you're going to have to disappear.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so while Sean goes off to save a radio station...
This is Ree, who occasionally has been a...
So, right.
So
this is the...
I'm going to run.
Yeah, Sean has to run and go open up a radio studio in very quick time. And also probably having to limbo a little bit as well to get under the mic stands.
To be fair, Rianne's got she's got the news at 10. Surely somebody will do the news, and then she's got until after that. So I mean, it's going to be one of those. Do you know what? I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put the radio on and listen at the same time.
In that case, as it's 2 minutes to 10, we probably best wrap this up now. If you want to make your own predictions, then go to threelegspodwheels.com, go to the games section, and predictions are open for the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. Predict your top three, or 2 Red Bulls and whoever you think is going to come third. There's Sean's keys.
That's the keys to the radio station.
And if you also want to help the show out to buy a faster car to get up the hill so that Sean can get to the radio station in time to save the day, you can donate through Patreon, patreon.com/threelegspodwheels. Get us on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 3legspodwheels, and email 3legspodwheels@gmail.com. Individually on Twitter, we are...
at Flood21.
Sean... At Total Shunt. Sorry, I forgot Sean's gone.
We're out of order. Sean is at Sean Cowper, and I am at Pablo100. All being well, with the wind in the right direction, we will be back next week. We'll have the Italian Grand Prix to talk about, and not a race to preview because we got a week off. We're at the end of a triple header.
Got to be honest, triple headers are a bit too much, but
let's see. They were never going to happen again after the first one, were they?
No, I enjoy it after the summer break, but I think it kind of makes the summer break a bit silly because it's like, we'll give everybody a rest, right? What are we doing straight after the summer break? Right, we're going to race for 3 weeks straight.
Yeah, you get as long on as you had off.
Yeah.
It don't really make it much of a break because you're then just as knackered as you were before the break started.
Mm.
Anyway, we'll see how things go in Monza this weekend, and we'll see you soon. We're all gonna go. Yes. We're all gonna go listen to Manx Radio now.
Yes.
Or lack of it.
Save the day.
Yeah. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.